Hello everyone, this is part 14 of What If Naruto Meets the Nine Tails Early, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. It was late at night and the festivities had already begun for this year's annual festival, celebrating the Yondaime Hokage made to keep this village safe, 12 years ago. Walking through the crowds was an 11-year-old Hyuga, looking for a particular blonde that had not been seen all day. She had just finished up the present that she had been working all morning. She would have had it finished sooner, but she hit an unexpected speed bump by the name of Hanabi. Flashback. Hanabi, shouted Hinata, or at least as loud as was possible for Hinata. Hanabi looked up from the large batter bowl that her face had been buried in. The evidence of her crime could be seen all over her face. To be completely honest, if it hadn't been for the Hyuga eyes she possessed, Hanabi could have been mistaken for an Akamaiki at that point in time. What's wrong, Nei-san? Asked the younger Hyuga, trying to act all innocent. That, did you eat all of the cake batter? Asked Hinata, staring at the empty bowl. No, there's still a little batter in there, responded Hanabi, pointing to the small drops of batter on the side of the bowl. Hinata picked up the bowl and was almost ready to cry as her work had been wasted just like that. Hiyashi entered the kitchen to see what the fuss was about after hearing Hinata's shriek. It didn't take a genius to see what had happened as Hinata was on her knees on the verge of crying, holding an empty bowl, with Hanabi sitting on the counter with batter all over her face and a satisfied smile on her face. Hanabi, it's time for training, called out Hiyashi. He was well aware of what Hinata was doing and figured this would give her a second chance at making Naruto's cake, this time without Hanabi interfering. Besides, this was his punishment towards Hanabi for not being more considerate. Have you ever tried training on a belly full of raw cake batter? Hanabi tried to argue, but it was no use against her father. Before leaving the room, Hiyashi turned and gave his older daughter a smile, receiving one back from Hinata. She quickly went back to work, starting over making the cake. By early afternoon, the cake was baking in the oven and she was able to start the decorating only 2 hours later. End flashback. Hinata was walking through town with the cake in a box that she had on her back. She had asked the bake shop just down the street from the Hyuga compound that she normally visited, and they were glad to loan out one of the delivery boxes to their best customer. Initially, she was calm and happy, getting to see Naruto for the first time in days. However, as time passed, she realized that she was going to be seeing Naruto. Quickly, the shy and nervous Hinata began to return as she became hesitant about actually going through. Perhaps she should wait for next year to tell him that she was his mysterious admirer. Those doubts were quickly shot down when she saw the exact person she was thinking of dart past her. However, this wasn't a casual run. This wasn't even how Naruto would run after he pranked the entire Anbu HQ. No, this time, Naruto was running for dear life as a crowd of around 20 villagers followed in pursuit, wielding knives and screaming for the demon brat, Therese. Sadly, she knew what was going on. Every year, the lynch mob came by the Hyuga compound asking for the Hyuga's help in tracking down Naruto. Each year, the Hyugas declined, thankfully. Having the Byakugan at the disposal would have done wonders for the mob. No, they found him this year, she said quietly to herself. She had felt relieved when every year she heard the disappointment from the mob, not even getting a sighting on him, but it appears as if this year they had managed to track him down and there was simply one thing on their mind, B. Hinata took to the rooftops in pursuit of her crush, hoping there was something she would be able to do to help him. Looking on, Naruto was gaining ground as he made his way towards the Hokage Tower. Go Naruto, you'll be safe there, she thought to herself. However, her Byakugan saw it. The villagers had set up a line of defenses between Naruto and the tower, and unfortunately, he got caught up in one of their traps, tumbling to the ground and crashing headfirst into a dumpster. Naruto, she shouted. If anyone was around, they would be shocked that the shy little Hyuga could actually scream that loud. Hinata bolted off towards where Naruto was, hoping it wasn't too late. Naruto was racing towards the tower. Everything seemed to be going fine, That is until he ran into one of the mob's tripwires they had set up. This sent him tumbling into the alley below and into a pile of trash. Picking himself out of the trash, Naruto looked up to see what he had not been hoping to see. Naruto was surrounded by approximately 40 to 50 members of the lynch mob, with the rest of the villagers just watching. The remaining members of the mob were beginning to make their way to the location where he had been trapped. What a fitting place for the demon that has plagued our village for so long to meet his end, said one of the villagers as he stepped forward. A few more joined Naruto until about 6 of them were charging for Naruto, knives at the ready, and the death of Demon Brat being the only thing on their mind. Was all Naruto could say. Damn Kit, I didn't want it to come to this, but, said Kurama as he sensed another presence enter the fray. He was just about ready to pump Naruto full of his chakra, hoping that would be enough to fend off the attackers. That was the last thing that he wanted to do, as it would have only given the mob more reason to believe that he actually was the QB. Protection of the 8 trigrams. The attackers were forced back into the crowd. The wind chakra digging deep into them, causing some severe C on their arms and torsos. Naruto opened his eyes, wondering why he hadn't been S yet. To his surprise, there was someone standing between him and the attackers, taking a defensive position. Hinata had come to his rescue. Hinata, said a surprised Naruto. What are you doing here? I came to save you, she said, all nervousness gone from her voice as her determination to protect the person most precious to her overtook her. A few of the mob stepped forward, growling in anger that they had hit a wall in their attempt to K Naruto. Go away, Hoiga, you had your chance to join us. Now that we found this thing, we don't need those eyes of yours, said one of the villagers. I'm not here to help you. I'm here to protect the one that's most precious to me, declared Hinata. A few of the villagers paused for a moment, then burst into a fit of laughter. Isn't that sweet? The Hoiga princess has fallen in love with the demon, taunted one of them. Love, said a surprised Naruto as it finally hit him. Hinata took a deep breath. It was now or never. Yes, Naruto, I love you. I have always loved you. Ever since that day when you stood up for me in front of those bullies. 2 thugs stepped forward and drew their knives. PFFT. Looks like we'll be doing you a favor. Anyone who thinks they could love a demon deserves to S just like that piece of trash, said one of the thugs. He then thought for a minute. Do you even know why he is the piece of trash he is? Yes, I know why he is the greatest person in this village. He has S himself all these years to keep you safe, and all you've done is repaid him with neglect and hatred, responded Hinata. Well, then, since you know, I have no regret KU now if you still choose to stand with the demon. The 2 thugs charged for Hinata. One of them was going to run her through while the other made a break for the demon. Naruto was still in shock at what Hinata had just declared. Hinata, shouted Naruto, not wanting to see her S to these losers. Hinata ducked underneath the first thug's blade, landing a strike with her gentle fist to the man's C and sending a burst of chakra into his heart, damaging it to the point where he clutched his C as his heart began to spaz into cardiac arrest. That just left the second bandit. Hinata back-flipped away from the man and assumed the 8 trigrams stance. Gentle fist, 8 trigrams, 64 palms. She called out as all 64 strikes hit the man's tenketsu. He crumbled to the ground, unable to move. This was not the failure of a clan heir that most of these villagers knew. This hinter that they were facing now could easily give the Hoiga prodigy, Neji, a run for his money. The mob had but one option left, an all-out assault on the pair. One of the villagers led the charge as the rest followed. This was it. Not even Hinter's protection of the 8 trigrams could fend off nearly 100 angry villagers forever. Boom. The entire village shook and the building crumbled to the ground. When the dust settled, the villagers had stopped in their tracks to see who had now arrived on scene. The first thing they saw was the mangled corpse of the lead villager, his entire back in and lying in about a 5-foot deep crater. The villagers froze in fear as they were now facing something more terrifying than the QB itself. What the hell do you think you are doing, mindlessly attacking shinobi of this village? Exclamation mark quote. Shouted Tsunade. She was pissed. No, she was more than pissed. The amount of K intent that she was letting off would have been enough to send the Kyuubi cowering with all 9 tails tucked between his legs, and she was probably holding some back to prevent most of the villagers from dropping over before she could get some sort of twisted explanation out of them. What's worse is you're actually trying to K them. Hokage SS Sama, some of the mob stuttered out, realizing they were now in deep S. And nothing, we were just see the crap, you worthless piece of trash. I know what you were trying to do. She shouted. One of the villagers was stupid enough to use this opportunity to sneak up behind them, hoping to Naruto in the back. He felt something slimy wrap itself around his end as he tried to let out a scream. On the rooftops above the scene, a little over 24 Anbu had arrived on scene, including Kakashi. Tsunade Barkin, shouted Naruto, extremely happy to see her. Tsunade turned towards Naruto and Hinata, who had taken a few steps back and was helping Naruto out of the trash. Oh, and happy birthday, brat, said Tsunade with a cheerful voice and facial expression. As quickly as it changed before, her mood did a complete 180 again. The villagers took a slight step forward, seeing Tsunade's slight distraction. However, they were stopped when she turned back to them, her fist into the wall next to them and burying most of the mob in rubble. Now, are you going to admit to breaking the Sandaim's laws about harming Naruto, or do I need to let Ibiki and Anko have their way with you? We did nothing wrong, Hokage-sama, defended one of the villagers. Oh really, said Jiraiya, stepping out from the shadows with that one villager caught by one of his toads. Now surely you were up to something. After all, you don't want to end up like this guy. Jiraiya turned to the man his toad had captured. He placed 2 fingers on the middle of the man's forehead and made a quick hand seal. Ninpu, toad transformation. With a puff of smoke, he transformed the man into a little green toad, causing some of the villagers to scream out in horror. We're sorry, Hokage-sama. We promise WWL behave, begged a few of the villagers. Some of the more hardened villagers kept their resolve, determined to let the Hokage know the disliking of her handling, more like pampering, of Naruto. Can it, Anbu, take these traitors away, ordered Tsunade, and summon Ibiki and Anko to get whatever info out of them regarding this lynching. Jiraiya walked up behind Naruto and Hinata and placed his hands on their shoulders. Pervy sage, shouted Naruto. Never had he been so happy to see his perverted teacher. Kakashi jumped down in front of them. Naruto, are you alright? He asked. I am now. Thanks to everyone. Especially you, Hinata, said Naruto, causing the Hyuga to blush. He wanted to ask her something regarding what she had just said moments ago, but this wasn't the place for said questions. You should also thank Konohamaru, said Jiraiya, pointing to the roof behind him. He was the one that came and got us. Naruto looked up to see a smiling Konohamaru. At the tower, Naruto was inside Tsunade's office with Hinata. Tsunade figured it was best he stay in the tower for a few days, at least until it settled down. Hey Hinata, about back there, what you said, did you mean it? Asked Naruto, referring to Hinata's little confession to the villagers. Hinata shot straight up and turned red. That boost of confidence that she had back there had left her after Tsunade had intervened. Come on Hinata, just say it. Tell him you meant it. This could be your chance to finally get him. Use the package, it will help, she thought to herself, trying to gather up every ounce of courage she had to confront Naruto. She took a deep breath and jumped off of the couch to grab the package she had been carrying. Surprisingly, it was unscathed. She walked over to Naruto and pulled out a box that Naruto recognized. It was a wrapped box, just like the ones he had received for the past 4 years from his mysterious admirer. It was neatly wrapped and had the same white paper with lavender swirls that the presents from before had. Hinata was his admirer. Yes, I meant every word and more. I do love you. Naruto stood in awe at what had just occurred. No one had ever told him that before. I mean, sure, he could tell what love was and that there were people in the village who loved him, like Iruka-sensei and the Ichirakis, but no one had ever said it directly to him before. Over the past months, he had been developing some sort of feelings for Hinata, but he had never been so sure what they were, until now. Is this a dream? Did one of the mob actually get to me and I'm s? Someone pinch me? Wait, don't, ouch. What was that for, you damn fox? Ha, you asked for it, Kit, but no, you are not dreaming. Now leave me alone and go to your little vixen, said Kurama. End Naruto, said Hinata. Not seeing any reaction from Naruto, she began to worry. Oh number. He's not responding. Does this mean he doesn't like me? What do I, eep? Before Hinata could say anything, Naruto was embracing her and crying as she blushed a light, but warm shade of red. Hinata, thank you, he said. You have no idea what that means. Thank you for everything. Hinata didn't want it to end, but Naruto let go. However, it didn't stop there. Naruto took one look at Hinata and their eyes connected. Wow, I never realized until now, but her eyes are actually really beautiful. Hinata's heart just about stopped as she was realizing what was happening. She had been fantasizing about this moment for years. Oh my god, stay conscious. Don't faint. This is it, was going through her head. She was trying her very hardest to keep herself conscious. Naruto and Hinata began to inch closer to one another, eyes slowly closing as they prepared for their lips to embrace one another. And then it happened. Hinata's dream had just come true as she felt Naruto's lips press against hers. They were a little rough, but warm and soothing at the same time. Naruto felt them, Hinata's lips press against hers. Warm, moist, and soft. Back in the academy, he had dreamed of getting a K like this from Sakura, but he could never imagine it feeling this good. And it was from Hinata. Perhaps if he hadn't been so oblivious back then. Suddenly, the door to the office opened as they were mid-K. Damn, I swear, even when I'm not the target of her frustration, she still finds a reason to punch M, said Jiraiya walking into the office. He stopped mid-sentence after seeing Naruto and Hinata scramble to get apart from one another. Hinata went completely red as the room temperature rose a few degrees from the heat she was emitting due to this embarrassment. Her world went dark. Oh, and what do we have here? Asked Jiraiya, getting a perverted look on his face. Gah, stop it you old pervert, shouted Naruto, knowing that expression all too well. Jiraiya laughed at the blonde's reaction. At least he wasn't denying anything. His tone got less perverted. Well, it's about time, he said. Naruto looked down, knowing exactly what Jiraiya was referring to. Jiraiya could obviously sense some regret in the eyes of his blonde student. Huh, Naruto, what's wrong? He asked. Nothing. It's just all these years, I never noticed, Why do I feel like I should have known? I feel like such a complete loser for not noticing her before, said Naruto as he began to piece the last pieces of the puzzle together that was the feelings he had for Hinata. Jiraiya gave Naruto a warm smile. Don't worry about it anymore. What matters is that I think the two of you will be very happy together. Just don't ruin it, said Jiraiya, as he slipped into pervert mode a little. Now, if the two of you ever want to help provide me with material for my books. Bam! Jiraiya was sent sailing out of the office, leaving a gaping hole in the wall behind the Hokage's desk. Tsunade had walked into the room just as Naruto and Jiraiya were having their nice father-son-like chat, at least until it turned perverted. Pervert! Shouted Tsunade. That might be a new record, Tsunade silently congratulated herself. She turned to Naruto who was just staring in awe at the hole in the wall that his teacher had just been sent through. Now you're not going to do anything that old pervert would do, now will you? No, not me. I'm not a pervert, Tsunade Hokage-sama, said Naruto, squeaking out the more formal of the names for Tsunade. Remember to punch Jiraiya around to scare Naruto into not referring to me as Barkan, she noted to herself. Tsunade picked up the unconscious Hinata and placed her on the couch. Tsunade took a moment to get the events of the past hour or so with the interrogation out of her head and went to her desk, pulling out a wrapped present for Naruto. Happy birthday Naruto, she said, handing Naruto the wrapped package. He opened up the package and a chorus of angels began to sound in his head. It was a book, but not just any book. This was the Ramen Passport to the Shinobi Nations, a very rare book but one that Naruto had dreamt of getting his hands on. Every ramen shop in here had a very special ramen that was only given to people with this passport, and it was the objective of whoever held one of these books to eat the special dish at every ramen shop listed. Besides becoming Hokage, this was Naruto's dream. Where did you? I picked it up traveling and figured I would find a use for it eventually, explained Tsunade. No, don't wake up. It was such a good dream, the two of us thought Hinata as she began to wake. When she opened her eyes, she realized that she was in the Hokage's office with Naruto holding a book that Tsunade had obviously given him as a present. It couldn't be. She was in the same room where her dream had taken place, and besides the fact that she was now on the couch, it was too real. Was it real? Did she really kill him? After hearing a slight sound, Naruto turned to see Hinata, who was slowly sitting up. He turned to her and gave her a warm smile, taking a seat next to her. Naruto gave her a quick peck on the cheek, telling her enough. It was real. It had actually happened. Her blush was no longer the nervous red that it had used to be had Naruto been so close to her before. It was now more of a faint rose-colored, but warm blush. Figuring that she might actually be able to touch him in a rather romantic sense, he rested her head gently on Naruto's shoulder, causing the blonde to let out a slight blush as well and smile. They had completely forgotten that Tsunade was there until a bright flash of light snapped them out of it. Jiraiya pulled himself through the hole in the wall that he had left, with a camera in hand. The two sat up straight as Jiraiya had interrupted their moment twice now. This had better not become a habit, pervy sage, said Naruto as Jiraiya let out a slight laugh. He ensured them that it wouldn't, although he might try to have a little fun now and then. This received a look from Naruto, but it was Tsunade who scared him. Don't worry about this old pervert, assured Tsunade. Hinata felt as if she was forgetting. Shifting her glance to the side, she found her gift sitting on the table next to her. She reached over and handed it to Naruto, who looked on in excitement as he had one last present for the night, the most special one in his opinion. He opened the wrapping to reveal another box on the inside. Please be all right, thought Hinata, hoping that the cake wasn't damaged after everything that had occurred. Naruto opened the box as a warm and sweet aroma filled the room. There it was, still in perfect shape. This is, said Naruto, looking at the cake in awe. It was a simple round cake outlined with streaks of lavender and gold frosting. The decoration of the cake was rather simple in nature, but it suited the cake just perfectly. Hinata had thought to design the initial cake in the shape of Naruto's head, however after Hanabi had her fill, she only had enough ingredients left for a slightly smaller round cake. Despite the setbacks, Hinata was satisfied with her work. For Naruto, he never had a birthday cake before. He had heard the stories of how children judged their birthdays by their presents and the cake. Naruto did what anyone would do and took a small scoop of the frosting with his finger, tasting it. Please like it, Naruto, thought Hinata, worrying that he might not like it. Oh my, said Naruto as his eyes opened wide. He took a good look around the room. Naruto, is something wrong? Asked Hinata. No, just making sure Twitchy isn't here to hear me say this, but this cake might just be. No, it is better than any ramen I've had, admitted Naruto. This was a huge victory for Hinata. Lying in a bed in the Konoha hospital, Tsuki was getting his wounds tended to. They were nothing major, although there were a few wounds that he needed to get cleaned and schooled. He felt a sudden cringe in his stomach. Daddy, what's wrong? Asked Ayami, sitting at his side. Nothing, I've just got this feeling. I think it's time to start experimenting around with the ramen again, he said. Ayami sighed. The last time he did this, she remembered being covered head to toe in noodles. There were even noodles in places rather not mentioned. Jiraiya took the cake from Naruto, much to the blonde's displeasure. However, he explained that it was customary to share the cake with those close to him. With that, he grabbed Naruto, Hinata, Shizune, Tsunade, and Kakashi from within the tower, and they proceeded to the hospital to go find Iruka, Konohamaru, Tsuki, and Ayami. To Naruto, these people had done something special for him on this day, and it was these people he wanted to share the cake with. For the first time ever, Naruto had the happy birthday song sang to him. The cake was passed around and Naruto got the first piece as was tradition. He took his first bite of the cake. It tasted wonderful. He could right now and he wouldn't care less. Hey Kit, mind letting me have a taste? Said Kurama, laughing a bit. Naruto sighed. It was true that Kurama had also become one of his true friends, despite everything that had happened to Naruto because of him. Naruto did his best to allow the fox a glimpse at the second piece of cake that was heading towards his mouth. As Naruto took a bite, Kurama managed to link their senses together, if only for a moment, and he tasted the cake as well. Damn Kit, this is something. I'm tempted to say screw that damn contract and take you over just so I can get more of that cake before the seals me, said Kurama. Naruto cringed a little. Note to self, never let the Q be near Hinata's cooking. There was one other thing going through Naruto's mind. If Hinata could make a cake this good, he was wondering what she could do to a bowl of ramen. Back in the tower, it was getting late and everyone was sitting around Tsunde's office. She had offered Naruto a room in the mansion that he could stay in for a few days while things settled down. Suddenly, a knock was heard on the door and Hiashi stepped through. He saw Hinata standing in front of him and rushed over to hug her. He had been informed by the Anbu about the events that had transpired and had been worried sick as he dragged Hanabi along behind him, who was clutching her stomach in pain for some unknown reason. Jiraiya came up next to Naruto and bent down and whispered in his ear. Naruto, while he's here, ask Hiashi for permission to date his daughter, said the Toad Sage. Why would I have to do that? Asked Naruto. After everything that happened in the past few hours, Naruto had been looking to finally ask Hinata on a true date, but was a little surprised at what Jiraiya was requesting he do. Because, it's only proper. After all, you can't just go dating her without her father's knowing. Trust me, just ask him and everything will be fine, said Jiraiya. Naruto gulped. There was something about this man that intimidated Naruto, not to mention that there were definitely people in the village who still despised him and he was afraid that Hiashi may have been one of them, despite allowing him to train with Hinata before the finals. Hoiga-sama, said Naruto, trying to be as polite as possible. Hiashi turned to Naruto, wondering what it was that the boy wanted. I would like permission to take Hinata out on a date sometime. Hiashi was a little taken back by this as he looked towards his sensei and down at his daughter. Hinata was also caught a little off guard by this. Naruto wanted to go out on a date with her. Nothing about this night could get any better, except if her father said yes to Naruto's request. Of course, if he said no, well. Hiashi closed his eyes and appeared to be in deep thought. After everything that happened tonight, he was tempted to say no, because he feared for Hinata's safety. Not from Naruto or the beast inside him, but rather from the paranoia of the village. However, he knew that if he said no, this would potentially crush all the progress he had been making towards his daughter's development in her confidence and shinobi training. He had seen firsthand the positive effects that Naruto had on his daughter. Hiashi took a deep breath. All right, I will allow it. Really? Shouted Naruto out of excitement. Hinata couldn't believe her father if she hadn't heard him herself. Yes, but realize this, interjected Hiashi. Hinata is the current heir to the Hoiga clan and my precious daughter. If you do anything to hurt or dishonor her, not even the Hokage will be able to save you from my wrath. Hiashi got a dark look in his eyes as he glared at Naruto, activating his Byakugan. Do we have an understanding? Naruto gulped. Why yes sir, he stuttered out. Hinata couldn't help herself as she embraced her father. Yay! Nei-san's got a boyfriend, shouted Hanabi, causing Hinata to turn red at this realization. Naruto was finally her boyfriend. Hanabi then began singing, causing her sister to turn an even darker shade of red. Hinata and Naruto sitting in a tree, KISSIN, UHG. Her stomach really started to bother her at that point as she cringed in pain and tried to keep herself from puking all over the office. Hanabi, is everything alright? Asked Naruto. Oh here, try this cake, it will make you feel much better. Naruto handed Hanabi one of the 2 remaining S in the box. That was the last straw for her as Hanabi couldn't take it anymore and she darted out of the office to find a toilet. Everyone looked on in confusion and Hiashi couldn't help but laugh. After all, what do you expect after eating an entire bowl of raw batter followed directly by one of Hiashi's strict training regimens? Jiraiya, said Tsunade, turning to her teammate. Everyone had left for the night and it was just the 2 Sannin. How could this happen? How did the old man let this manifest to this point? They simply thought they could form a mob and try to K him. From what I've been told, this has happened every year. Why was it allowed to happen? Jiraiya couldn't find the answer. I don't know. From everything I've been told, Sarutobi-sensei cared deeply for Naruto. I don't even understand how this could happen, said Jiraiya, pulling something out of his bag that Tsunade needed desperately. He placed 2 cups on her desk and poured them full of sake that he had been carrying in a gourd inside his bag. I'm going to do some investigating through Sensei's records, see if I can find anything, said Tsunade. There has to be a reason why Naruto was allowed to suffer like this. I'll see what I can find as well, but I think it would be a good idea if Naruto was out of the village as much as possible. At least for the next few weeks, said Jiraiya. What do you mean by that? Asked Tsunade. Are you planning another trip or something and want to take him? I am, but that won't be happening for some time. What I'm saying is that if the opportunity comes to assign Naruto to a mission that gets him out of the village for some time, give him that mission and make sure there are people on that team that can be trusted, said Jiraiya. Even for Naruto, it's going to take some time to rebuild any ounce of trust that he had for the villagers. It's best if we just keep him with people he knows truly for right now. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.